What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got a bunch of new One Piece cards from Starter Deck 10. I believe this actually finishes all of the cards that are coming in Starter Deck 10, and that is absolutely lovely. They were revealed on a live stream, which is awesome, and it means we've got a bunch of cool stuff to be looking at, and I, for one, ladies and gentlemen, am very happy indeed. We might as well start off with probably the least exciting. It's the reprint of Nami. There is a reprint of Nami from OP01, which is coming in this deck. Which isn't entirely unsurprising, of course, because we've already had confirmation that we are getting a reprint of Roanoa Zoro from OP01 coming in Starter Deck 10. What I will say is, they have at least picked really good cards. Because, of course, Roanoa Zoro has got the brilliant, well, it's got Rush. It is a Rush Zoro, and that's actually really good. It's a good Zoro. We like this. Okay, that's kind of cool. And then, of course, we've got this Nami, one cost 2,000 power, counter plus 1,000. But when you play, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, find a Straw Hat Pirate other than Nami, pop it into your hand, and then put the rest cards at the bottom of your deck, in any order you like. Thing is, I mean, look, we all know that the Starter Deck 10 is actually being made up of all 3 of the crews. So sure, Straw Hat Crew isn't going to be the whole deck or anything silly like that, but there are still a bunch of cards which are going to be searchable with it. Obviously, you know, there's a Luffy, there's a Jinbei, there's a Sanji, there is, of course, the Zoro that I mentioned earlier. So you know what? Yeah, this seems like a pretty cool card to be popping into this deck. But then there are a bunch of new cards. Now, I did a translation here myself, but I have checked with Orange Samurai D on Facebook, who has gone and checked with the kind folks on the community Discord. So starting off then, we've got Shachi and Penguin, and we've got 4 cost 5,000 power, counter plus 2,000, and on play, if there are 3 or less Don on your field, you may add up to 2 Don from your Don deck rested. Which should immediately draw a little bit of a funny face from you, because it's a 4-cost card. How do you play a 4-cost card and only have 3 Don on the field when you need to have 4 Don on the field in order to play the 4-cost card? That don't make no sense, ladies and gentlemen. That don't make no sense. We must be missing something, and we are, because of course, with a new deck comes new leaders, and one of the leaders in this deck does provide the answer. Because it has a skill whereby you can, once during your turn, Don -3, and unless you take a 3,000 power or less character and put it at the bottom of your deck, something like Nami, who's already used her play skill, would be perfect here. And then if you do that, you can play a 4-cost or lower character from your hand. And that's where we go here, because this is, of course, a 4-cost character. So essentially, you have 6 or less Don on your field. You use this skill, go down to 3 or less Don, and then you play Shachi and Penguin, and then you add 2 Don out onto the field. Yes, it is very much worth noting here that you are picking between the 3 leaders when you play this deck. Out of the box, it's a 50-card deck, but there are 3 leaders to choose between. If you don't choose the Law Leader, this is a much worse card. To be fair, it's still counter plus 2,000, so even if you go for Luffy or Kid, it's still a viable card because of counter plus 2,000, but with Law, it becomes a very, very good card indeed. Now we've got Bart here. 4 cost 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and what you can do here is, on play, pay 1, to add a Don from your Don deck as active. Now, obviously, you pay a Don, you get a Don back. Okay, I suppose. But essentially, this is adding Don for future turns. So you're resting a Don here, but then you're adding a Don, and that Don is still going to be on your field for future turns. It's another fairly weird interaction here, but it does actually make sense. Because even though you're basically paying a Don to get a Don out, well, next turn, both those Don are going to come active, and oh, look, you're going to have both of these Don, and it's going to be lovely. And you know what? Yeah, that's all right, ladies and gentlemen. That's all right. Now, we got Wire here, 3 cost 3,000 power blocker, and obviously counter plus 1,000. But then we've also got a skill here whereby once per turn, when you return Don from your field to your Don deck, draw a card and discard a card. Now, I've made this point many times in the past, and basically what the deal here is, you're not actually drawing cards, what you're doing is cycling. You're not actually having any more cards than you started with, but what you are doing is seeing more cards. You are going through the cards in your deck a little bit faster. It means that if there's a particular card in your deck for which you are searching, you are more likely to draw into that card sooner rather than later, and that's a very, very good thing indeed. And then we've got some event cards. And I know people get less excited about the event cards, for which I can only apologise, but these are always very useful. Decks have event cards in. These are things we need to have a look at. So we've got a Gum Gum Giant something, 1 cost event card, no trigger on this one, which is a little bit sad. But what we've got here is counter. Up to one of your leaders or characters gains 2,000 power during this battle. And then you KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 power or less. It's a 1 cost counter card that will both allow you to boost up your character, that's a good thing, it means you're more likely to win the battle, and KO a small character. And look, it's only a 2,000 or less character, right? But that could be a support character, it could be a very small blocker, it could be a number of things which are actually going to be very annoying. There's plenty of weak characters out there that are helping a whole bunch of decks. This is going to help. Now, we've also got another red one here. This is Gum Gum Gatling, or Gum Gum Kong Gatling, I believe. Yeah, Gum Gum Kong Gatling. And we've got a 5 cost event here. And what we've got is, as a main, KO one of your opponent's characters with 7,000 power or less. And now we're talking. And look, there's plenty of characters out there that have more than 7,000 power. Of course there are. This isn't going to KO everyone, nor should it KO everyone. What this will do, however, is get rid of a lot of threats. And honestly, until you get to the end game, and until you get to the point where everyone's got 9-10 Don on the field, most of the time you don't have a bunch of characters with more than 7,000 power anyway. There are plenty of decks out there that don't play more than 7,000 power characters. So, yeah, it's a 5 cost card. It's a little bit expensive, I grant you. But actually, there's going to be enough here, there's going to be enough turns where this ends up being a very, very useful card indeed. As a trigger, until the end of your next turn, up to one of your leaders gains 1,000 power. That's actually kind of cool. Because firstly, an extra 1,000 power means it's much less likely your opponent's going to be getting an attack through. That's a good thing. But also, it means your leader's going to have an extra 1,000 power, which means you're going to be able to potentially get your attacks through with your leader at least more easily on the following turn. Frankly, yeah, this is a pretty good trigger. It's a decent card as a 5 cost. It's pretty good as a trigger. It doesn't really jump off the page as an absolutely essential card as a 5 cost, but both the trigger and the main could be pretty gosh darn good here. And then we've got Punk Vice. Now we've got a 3 cost card, and as a main, rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less, and add up to 1 Don from your Don deck, rested. So, you pay 3, you get a Don back, but it's rested, you can't use it this turn, boo hiss, etc. But you've got an extra Don on the field ready to go next turn. That's a good thing. Yay. But then also, by the same token, you're also resting one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. So that means, again, if there's a little blocker on the board, then you rest them so they're not able to block. Or, resting a character so that they're able to be attacked. Remember the general rule that you can only attack rested characters. And again, you're talking about a 2 cost or less. You're not going after any character on the board, right? But what you are doing here is opening up a lot more options while also being able to give yourself an extra Don for future turns. And remember, purple likes getting rid of Don. They like shuffling Don back into the Don deck. That's what they Don do. So being able to put extra Don out is just a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. And I am a fan. For 3 costs, this seems pretty cool. So there we go. That's the cards you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.